Class, in this new series of videos, we're going to be focusing on volume, specifically the volume of cylinders, the volume of cones, spheres, and then also the volume of composite solids. In this video, we want to focus on cylinders. And so I've tried to draw a few kind of crude drawings here, but basically you can picture almost like a can of green beans, if you will, just a simple cylinder. The hatch marks are supposed to show the bottom. And what we basically know about the sphere is we know the radius of the sphere because it is circular, and we know that it has a height. Now, from those two measurements, we can calculate the volume. Now, we start with the hash marks. Anytime you're going to start with the volume, you're going to start with the area of the base. And if I were to draw just a simple rectangular solid that looks something like this, we know that we're going to start off with basically length, width, and height. And if we want the volume of this particular rectangular solid, we're going to multiply length times width times height. Well, it's really no different when we get to cylinders or cones or spheres. The spheres are slightly bit different, but we're dealing with pi. Because we're dealing with something that is circular, now we have to begin dealing with pi. And so when we start with the area of the base, which is what we did here, right? We started with the area of the very bottom. We multiplied length times width. To get the volume, then we have to go up, okay? And so we're going to be multiplying by the height as well. So coming back to a cylinder, we have to ask ourselves, what is the area of a circle? Because a cylinder, if you were to look at it from the top, looks like this. Not a perfect circle by any means, but if you looked at the top, it is circular. And so we know that that area of a base, the area of a circle, is pi r squared. So the only thing we need to do to get the volume of a cylinder is to multiply the area, or calculate the area of the base and multiply it by the height. This will convert your units to cubed, and it will give you the volume. Let's look at a quick example here. We have a cylinder with a radius of 5 centimeters. And it has a height of 10 centimeters. And we want to know, what is the volume? Well, we know our formula. The volume of a cylinder is equal to pi r squared times h. And so we begin to substitute everything we know. The r is 5 centimeters, and we're going to square that. And we're going to multiply it by the height, which gives me 10 centimeters. So let's calculate the volume. I'm going to leave pi alone for the moment. I know 5 squared is 25. That's going to be 25 centimeters squared times 10 centimeters. And that's going to equal to 250 cubic centimeters. But don't forget the pi. So if we were to leave pi in the answer, the volume is 250 pi centimeters cubed. Now that is the volume. Now I know in class I have commented multiple times, we're not using calculators a lot, so you are more than welcome to leave pi in your answer. If you took pi out of the answer, meaning that you multiply 250 by pi, the answer would be approximately 785.4 cubic centimeters. So that would be an approximate answer. But again, I'm perfectly fine in our class. You can leave pi in the answer. All right, with that being said, let's do a couple of practice problems. I would encourage you to pause the video and attempt these problems on your own. And feel free to leave pi in the answer, but I will give you both answers. All right, now that you have done that, you'll notice that we really don't need a drawing on these. We know the formula for the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times h. They're looking for the volume. And so I'm going to leave pi alone, leave it in there. 1.5 inches squared times the height, which is 3 inches. And so let's just work through this. We know that 1.5 squared, we're going to start there. I'm going to leave pi. And that's going to be 2.25 inches squared. Notice you're also squaring the inches. And so if you think about this, just as a quick aside, inches times inches, that's inches. That's if we square it. They each have a 1 exponent. There's your common base. And what do we do with exponents when we multiply them? What do we do with exponents when we multiply common bases? we add them. Remember this back from earlier in the year, so that gives you inches squared. There's no need to do all of this. I just want to show you the math behind how I got inches squared times 3 inches. So what is the volume? Well, 2.25 times 3 is 6.75. There's my pi. And now here it's going to be inches squared times inches to the first, and that's inches cubed. And so it's 6.75 pi inches cubed. If we multiply pi out, we get approximately 21.2 cubic inches. Either of those answers satisfy our class. All right, now let's go up here to this other one. Again, if you haven't done so, pause the video and try this yourself. Now we have a diameter, but we'll remember that our formula for the volume of a cylinder is not the diameter squared, it's pi r squared times h. So we need to divide by 2, and of course that is 2 centimeters. Don't forget to do that. If you multiply by the diameter, the formula is assuming that's a radius, so your number is going to be much larger than it actually should be. So we have pi times 2 centimeters squared times 8 centimeters. And so this would be 4 pi. Well, let's do it this way. That's going to be 4 centimeters squared times 8 centimeters. So the volume in this case is going to be 32 pi centimeters cubed. And if you multiply pi out, that is 100.5 cubic centimeters. All right, let's keep going. Let's look at one more example. I have a little word problem here. I would encourage you to pause the video and give this problem a shot. All right, now I recommend actually drawing these, and so I'm going to try to draw a rough sketch. I know that I have a cylinder, and so I'm pretty close. And it has a height, so there's my height, of 1.5 inches. It has a diameter of 2 inches, so that means I have a radius of 1 inch. So a diameter of 2 inches, a radius of 1 inch, and I know that 1 cubic inch, not 1 meter, 1 cubic inch equals 1.8 ounces. So how do we tackle this problem? Well, let's begin by solving for the variable. All right, guys, so what we'll do is we have to use the volume, the formula for volume of a cylinder, which is pi r squared times the height. And so just fill in what we know. The first thing we have to do is calculate the volume for this cylinder. Then we can multiply by what's going to happen with its weight. And so once we start filling in the numbers, pi, we know the radius is 1, so they've made the math real easy this time for us. The height is 1.5 inches squared. So that's going to end up being, once you multiply, all right, let's scratch this last square. I got a little excited there. Once we multiply 1.5 times pi, we get approximately 4.7, and that's going to be cubic inches. Now, they've asked us here, they've told us actually that 1 cubic inch equals 1.8 ounces. So every one of these cubic inches is going to weigh 1.8 ounces. Just multiply this times 1.8, and you will get 8. Let's just say 4 ounces. And you could actually round that up to probably 8.5, but this is your answer. This is its total weight. And so if we know that we have this metal cylinder with a 1 inch radius, a 1.5 inch diameter, and that 1 cubic inch of it weighs 1.8 ounces, its total weight is 8.4 ounces. All right, guys, hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.